A crowd. This is great. Thank you. All right. Hey, guys. How are you? Thank you guys for joining.
Good, good.
This is our virtual production panel for non-cinematic, so non-traditional applications, and that's why we have this amazing audience here today. I'm going to reference a few notes before we get things really started, but we've all referenced or heard about virtual production as The Mandalorian, right? This big, huge cinematic feature film production with 3D application. Sorry, I better talk this way. Can you guys hear me okay? Perfect. So we're here to talk about non-traditional 3D virtual production and cinematic, and you're going to hear a few things from all of our panelists, but I'd like to kick it off with a quick sizzle reel. Excellent. So before I talk about this amazing video and our new product, Verona, want to give everyone a chance to introduce themselves, say a little about their role, where they're from, and get you familiar with our panelists. So Andre, we'll kick it off with you.
Thank you, Jamie. Nice to meet everyone. Andre Vaudry, NBC Sports, on the engineering team, based in Stamford, Connecticut, and excited to talk about our use of this product.
I'm Wayne Miller from Texas A&M University, the Virtual Production Institute. I'm the head of production and executive producer for the Virtual Production Institute.
I'm Ken Nakata. I'm with Amazon MGM Studios. I'm the head of virtual production and creative innovations, and built our studio, our large LED volume, and also we just completed the build of a smaller micro project volume that we have in Burbank.
Great.
I'm Joseph Solari. I am the vice president of studio operations for WWE in Stamford, Connecticut. I run the studios at WWE. We have a Sony Verona virtual production stage, which we just expanded in the past month.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Everybody keep your mic close. This is a growing audience, and I want everyone to hear all the exciting things you have to say. First off, this sizzle reel was really an exciting project. Ken, kind of coming to you, it was shot in your Burbank studio, right? Using the new Verona panels that you bought, some Sony technology. We brought in a crew, really exciting. But you're using that stage with 2D plates. Can you talk a little bit more about how you're using that particular stage and what led you to design it?
Right. So that stage is not fully launched yet, just so that you guys know. So thank you for Sony outfitting it and also being the first customer, as well as our partner in the build of that. At Amazon MGM, we also do unscripted reality shows. So the thought was we have stages that have been built for film and television. This brings us to a client that actually will be using the stage more, meaning like in unscripted reality, in a single season, we might have 62 days worth of shooting. in those days, we have to go into people's houses and shoot, or into their business where we have to stop down their business. This allows us to go in and capture the location, bring it back to stage, and then be able to shoot these recap interviews or whatever we need to do. And it reduces these 12-hour shoot days. I'm sure a lot of you have been on these days where a lot of it is set up and then breakdown. You might get 4 to 6 hours of real content capture with the talent. This allows us to be able to have everything set up pretty much ready to go with lighting, set deck, and all of those things, and then be able to bring in talent without disrupting, location scouting, the crew traveling to the location, the setup, the lighting, and then all of the breakdown, and let alone all the interruptions that we're creating for them. This is huge in the sense of we're recapturing probably 33% of the budget because of those savings, as well as maybe 50% of the setup breakdown time. So, this is a game changer for this type of programming.
Great, thank you. So time saving, money saving, efficiency. Any code names for this project that we can share?
Not yet.
Not public. I love that. I know. So I think, the question is, right, you're using this in 2D plates. Is this a more efficient way? Is everybody using their wall in this manner? Or is there still a mix between 2D and 3D capture?
I can jump in. So we at Sports NBC are using it very similarly in terms of it's essentially a road kit. And we don't go into people's homes like Ken mentioned, but we do have sort of last minute ad hoc locations such as hotels across the street, from a training center of athletes. So we've definitely found value in making not so ideal environment into a beautiful set to interview and capture these moments with our athletes.
Great. Joe or Wayne?
Yeah, for the WWE, it was conceived initially as a virtual production stage, but you use the right tool for the job, and having the flexibility to shoot 2D plates as well as doing complex Unreal environments for us is something that is extremely valuable. We have a lot of C-suite executives that have limited time, and if we need to get them in front of the wall to cut a promo for an upcoming event, we could do that relatively quickly and really monopolize on having them in-house and getting it up and running so they could get back to their day and get back to their scheduled meeting. So it's been a wonderful tool for us.
For us at A&M, the visualization program at A&M at the College of Performance, Visualization, and Fine Arts, A&M has been known for many, many years as one of the top animation programs in the country. Probably 2 or 3 right now in the country. And so our students are very well versed in CGI and animation. And so they are capable and have really strong experience in both 2D and 3D.
Yeah.
So it's, we use it, as Joe was saying, it's a tool. You use the right tool depending on what the subject matter is and what content you're creating. So it's a combination of both for us.
Excellent.
I want to just jump in real quick, Jamie. For all of us, I think, there's a lot of work that goes into either capturing or creating these environments. We're now starting from, with our walls, is now we have this library that we're building. We could always come back to it any time, and we could always modify it, accessorize it in any way we need to. So it's not just for the project at the time, it's also for future projects and our IP that we're building for ourselves.
That's great. I think the library and the archive and the content that you're creating is a really critical piece of how you guys are using this, but also, to your point, future-proofing and how important it is to the future of virtual production and how it will continue to morph. It certainly helps us as a manufacturer know how you're using it to be able to develop and bring new technologies to our ecosystem, which is something that we're showcasing here on the floor today and why we're doing this panel. So, Andre, you had some exciting use of your Verona system at the Summer Games. We're going to show a quick clip and then transition to some questions about that.
First off, we have the GOAT, aka Simone Biles. I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it.
Man, that was my first meet in Colorado Springs right there.
Y'all don't want to miss it.
Oh my gosh.
More cowbell. We have a lot of team spirit, a lot of pride in representing our country.
Cowbells, red, white, and blue. That's all you need. Cool.
Go say hello to the guys here. Kurt, great to see you. That rating of 60 a couple of years later, how's it feel?
NBC's Madden NFL cast seamlessly fused innovation with familiarity.
Okay, I love that video. I don't know why I feel like clapping. So two-part question, so I'm going to reference my notes so I get this right for you. But you used Verona in your features as well as a prop on camera during your football broadcasts. So taking a little shift here. How difficult was that to implement, and what has the wall brought you in terms of versatility and being able to do this and really pivot on the fly?
Sure. So you saw a couple types of content in that reel. Of course, the Olympics stands out, and that was what I was referring to earlier, similar to how Ken at Amazon has used it, as less than ideal environments, across the street from a training center, blow the talent away with this really cool backdrop to evoke, really strong emotions. You saw some of those parent testimonials of the athletes. We surprised them with those, and we had some, audio with the wall to where, they see a parent testimonial, and then we ask them, how did that make you feel? And obviously the tears and everything. So it served our purposes for that. But more specifically to our use for NFL, we used it as you've heard the term alt-cast. We called it the AUG-cast, or augmented reality. That, for Sunday Night Football, was an alternate way of viewing the traditional broadcast that you would see on NBC, where viewers could essentially tune into a Peacock version, where, as you saw in that video, you have this live set. So some of the challenges were doing this LED wall in a live environment. So we had live video with essentially like a picture-in-picture window of the traditional game, but with talent. In this case, it was these two former players, Kurt Benkert and Chad Ochocinco, watching the NFL broadcast that we had on NBC, but augmented with superimposed graphics from the Madden video game. So it was, just a really cool, different experience that we offered our viewer, to essentially like you would watch commentators saying, the players ran these routes, or, they could have done this defensively to avoid that. These commentators had the video game elements to describe all this complexity and analysis of the sport. So it was a really cool experience. In terms of the challenges, like anything, when you do it live, it's more challenging. So the Olympics footage you saw was used as in post-production later to, for feature spots or promotional materials. So that was, not live. But the NFL was live. So we had a live hit on the video wall, and just crossing our fingers that, everything would stay up and the power wouldn't go out, where essentially it was an interview of a Heisman Trophy winner during the broadcast. So live, adds a different complexity, but it's been great in those two examples. Just a very versatile use and looks stunning.
Excellent. So this is for all of you, but Andre, why don't you start first? You're using this in non-traditional virtual production. Do you see this as a trend, or do you feel like this was really unique to what your needs were?
I think the latter. I think, for those of you who've seen the product over here or have used it yourselves, the virtual experience is a different use case. Jamie mentioned at the top of the panel the Mandalorian. We sort of started with the idea of implementing a set that was virtual. essentially how the product was designed. And the way we use it now has become sort of unexpected. I don't know that it's a trend. I think both are equally compelling and serve a specific use case. We certainly intend to continue to use it in this more 2D prop ad hoc, road kit, but I think the virtual experience is certainly compelling as well for different use case.
Yeah, to his point, I don't think there's any right or wrong way to use this technology. I think that for everybody who has it, I think the technology is still relatively young, and everybody on this stage is going to be pushing it into new and exciting directions. For me, I'm really interested to see where this is going to go in the next few years and how people are going to apply it to their productions and their events.
Yeah, I agree with the panel here in that we're using it in every direction, everywhere it's going, and we also have done broadcasts within our group, Thursday Night Football and such. These types of things is location capture, live, pre-records, even to the point of music videos for the event, and then the augmented parts. We're starting to get into a lot of that and how to use statistics for user and talent engagement. That type of thing. That's becoming a really big thing for all of us. Entertainment is becoming, when you say, Mandalorian, film and TV versus sports versus live, all of this is starting to meld all together, and we're all going in all the directions. And I think that's what's kind of cool in having a partner like Sony, because they also are going in all the directions. So that's one of the things that helps us, feel confident about when we're installing and then actually doing, I call it battlefield recording, which is what we do in all the different types of production. We need a partner who understands how critical the needs are for us.
Great, thank you, Wayne.
For us at Texas A&M and the Virtual Production Institute, we use it in a variety of ways. Obviously for cinematic content, but with music, dance, theater, all the different disciplines that are a part of the college. And so we're opening creativity up to these different disciplines so that they can think about using it for what they're doing. We also have it available for the different colleges on campus, whether it's engineering, aerospace, healthcare, all of the different industries that can use virtual production and to be able to create things that help what they're doing. So it's a combination of all of it, but also we see the trend happening in virtual production as a tool. And so it's a combination of all of it.
That's great.
Can I just chime in on one thing Wayne said? I didn't know that you were using it with live theater, but that's a good example that illustrates it's not just about the LED wall versus green screen or this manufacturer versus the other. It's really what you can garner from the reaction of the talent in front of it. And the talent could be, like I said, an athlete seeing something for the first time, or maybe a replay of something they experienced before, or it could be commentators. But it's for us, it's really that engagement and offering the object in front something that's just truly stunning, and that's ultimately what we're trying to capture, which I think is unique in this group. Is it's less about the backdrop of a wall and more about what you're trying to capture from the performance or the object in front.
So this may be a softball question, but did it solve your problem? Did adding virtual production to your workflow, to your solution? We just talked about a lot of different applications and some really unique ones that had a lot of versatility. Did it solve a problem?
It hadn't solved a problem because we didn't have a problem in the sense. I mean, what it has done is created this incredible tool and excitement for the students.
Yeah.
And to be able to use a tool like virtual production. And we have all state-of-the-art equipment, the Sony Verona panels, Venice 2s. It's a close to pretty full Sony workflow. but it's exciting for them because
Yeah.
to have hands-on experience. And I'm a big believer, and we're a big believer, and I see Tim McLaughlin over here, our dean, whose idea this was, to involve the students in state-of-the-art technology, state-of-the-art industry, education. And so when they come out of the school, they can go right into the industry working in this. So it's really we didn't have a problem. We just had, wow, an excitement opportunity.
Maybe it'll help with retention.
I'm sorry?
Maybe it'll help with retention.
Well, yeah,
Keeping the
sure.
students at the school, getting them enrollment numbers up, right? A little bit different angle than some of the production.
Right, yeah, they'll
Panelists here. This is a-
continue to work in the area and maybe even stay in school a little longer. Who knows?
Yeah,
I will
love
say
that.
this. This helps us because you're prepping people for real world experiences. And I mean, this is what you've built. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, and just to echo what they said, it really didn't solve a problem because there wasn't a problem. What it did was open up a world of possibility of what we could do within our space. It did, however, create a problem for us because now we have a very big scheduling issue where we have so many people that want to use the stage. It's hard to facilitate it for everyone.
We can help with that problem. Yeah, stage 2.0.
It's a good problem to have.
It is. So Joe, let's stay on you for a minute. We're gonna highlight your sizzle reel here as the first Verona virtual production installation in the North America territory. Really exciting. You were actually on our stage last year at this time at this show. So let's roll the WWE.
Okay, this shit is out of control. Okay, this shit is out of control. I'm driving through LA out in Boston. It's shining in here tonight in Boston. I hear the sirens right out the shadows. Run me the info. I'll be on the run.
Excellent. Next time we'll do smoke and some strobe lights on the stage for us. I love that. So Joe, you talked a little bit about why you built the studio, how you're using it, but what led you to choose Verona? Why did you pick the Sony Crystal LED product as your solution?
You know, it stood out, far beyond everything else that we looked at. For us, it was the right product at the right time. The capabilities, the features were second to none. It was a very easy choice for WWE to go with Verona.
Great, thank you. Anybody else want to add to that? You're all using Verona. It's been amazing installations, projects.
Yeah, we honestly, we did a shootout. We're working our integrator for our 4 stages that we're building. We're building 4 stages. I guess I'll talk about that later. But with Synapse, and we did 2 different shootouts with probably 12 different manufacturers, and Sony won. So we, very happy with the high quality and the the state-of-the-art elements that are Sony, and the images are, we feel, the best that we could get out there.
Great.
The quality is definitely top notch. So NBC Sports has the Verona 1.5 megapixel. And I recall a recent shoot, not one that you saw in that reel, but ahead of the next games in Italy, where we were about to interview an athlete. And a lot of these athletes, as you know, are very young, and some of them have their parents. And right before we interviewed her, they, walked on the stage and saw this beautiful LED wall. And they started talking, this is incredible, wow. So we already, before we even sort of had the producer breaking the ice, get them in, relaxed, when they just got done with training, they were already in awe, and we had this emotional moment that we could then interview and capture what we needed. So it is truly spectacular.
That's great.
For us, Sony is, a partner in all of this. So the Verona is a great product, but that's just the tip of the iceberg with the color science, the monitoring, the systems integration, the cameras, the whole VP toolkit that connects everything together. So in that sense, we're buying into a partnership, and it's also at, I talk about the battlefield where we need to have proven products that survive the pipe all the way through, but also someone who's very innovative to help us look at what's coming up next. So for all these reasons is why Sony was such a great partner and an easy choice.
Thanks, Ken. I appreciate that. And I agree. I think, you're all up here not because you're a customer for buying a product, but you've invested in a solution that Sony has truly taken your voice of customer and helped continue to build out our ecosystem. And we're continuing to do that. And all the new things that you're seeing on the show floor today are representative of that. So two things. Joe, kind of going back to you for a minute, Ken talked about all the different parts of that ecosystem. It's the wall, it's the cameras, it's the VP tool set. What else do you have in your studio space?
So paired with the Sony wall, we're using the Sony Venice 2 camera. And, having that, essentially out of the box and putting it up against the wall was almost seamless. And having that, that Sony ecosystem in-house where everything just works so well together, and you're not chasing your tail trying to make things work. It's really been a pleasure, and really made what we do a lot easier at the studios.
Great.
Just not because we're just on the Sony stage, but it does bear repeating that the Sony support is a big part of it. So this ad hoc use case of taking, our wall on the road, the production elements of it are, as everyone in live production understands, challenging. And we haven't had the benefit of a student body that's trained on it. So we've internal staffed. It's been sort of a ramp up to get people properly trained to be able to run the wall. That said, Sony throughout that process, until we were trained up and ready to do it independent of their support, they've always haven't hesitated, sometimes last minute, to just say, sure, I'll be in Wichita or Boston or wherever you need us to support you until your staff is trained. So again, not just staying in that because we're on the panel, but Sony's been great from a support perspective.
We can help you with students.
I know, I love that. Internship programs to be developed here on stage.
Right.
Excellent. So the second part, Ken, to what you were mentioning that I think is really important, right, is color. Color pipeline, color matching, your workflow. Have you run into challenges? Has contributing to the Sony ecosystem and having the multiple pieces helped? Are you struggling now? Anybody?
Color will haunt me forever. Color is a lifelong endeavor of trying to keep consistent with every product that comes out. Color may break a little bit. Everything tries to stay within pipe. You've got the color from the time that it's created in content to how it's captured, to how it's put on a wall, to how it's filmed off of the sensor, and then how all of that color fidelity makes it into post, and being able to have enough range to be able to get it to where you need it to be for the color on delivery. All of this is color management that at some point, something somewhere is going to be struggling a little bit. So, and that what I've just talked to you is the battlefield. That's the color place where we're trying to get all the right scientists and engineers at the right point of where their expertise is in capture and sensor and the different systems and spaces being able to agree with each other with all the different formats. So, I don't have to tell this audience, it is a challenge, and it's something that we have been very successful in, but are also being challenged all the time.
Yeah.
One of the things that was important to us when we did the testing of all the different panels. And when we landed on the Sony products, we then looked at the whole Sony workflow in terms of cameras, the whole color pipeline, how everything connects, the VP toolkit. So when David and I, there's David, he's head of the Virtual Production Institute, we looked at all of that. And so we haven't had any problems yet, but we're excited to be able to have all of the system know each other, so to speak, right? So that's really important to us. I mean, the students will learn about other systems, but and then we also have third-party producers coming in and using our stages. The students will work as interns or whatever. That's a primary part of the program, but we're staying at the state-of-the-art level for the whole industry. So that's part of the whole reason we did it that way.
That's great, thank you. One of the benefits, I guess, of being Sony is that we make the cameras that capture, we make the wall that you're shooting on, we make the monitors, the professional monitors for post, and we can continue that color pipeline throughout the entire ecosystem. And so the products are actually designed to work together. So it's some of the science that we put behind this, and when virtual production became a thing, right, again, back predating a little Mandalorian for some of us, right, Ken? But it wasn't about a product. It is a solution. Virtual production is a workflow. It's a system. And I think those are the pieces that, we continue to develop and evolve. And that's why all of your feedback has been really instrumental in us creating virtual production tool sets, bringing the new Ocellus camera tracking solution over here to the show floor. So I think this is an area that we recognize is critical to success in content creation and your creative abilities to bring what vision you have to the market. Wayne, we're moving on to you, Texas A&M, the future of America, filmmakers, producers, DP, workflow experts. You gave us a great video reel, so let's take a look at that, and then we'll jump into more questions.
If you think about it, the scale of Texas A&M is significant.
That's
it's a
Tim
really
talking.
large
He's in the back.
university
Raise
with
your hand,
a lot
Tim.
of great resources. This Texas legislature has invested significantly to the Virtual Production Institute. This is one of 4 stages.
To have a Virtual Production Institute, to have top people from the industry, I honestly don't know any other university in the world who's doing what we're doing.
We'll train our students to operate and to
Shout out to
function in
David.
the workforce,
Raise your hand,
in
David.
the virtual production industry. I mean, we're excited about providing them with this level of access.
Sony has been a great partnership as well. Their panels are just fabulous. Their cameras are the best. So we have production moving into Texas, production wanting to use virtual production technology, and here we will be.
Excellent, excellent. So, Wayne, you've answered a lot of the questions I was going to save for you, which is great, but your university invested in 4 different volumes, 4 different walls, spaces, labs. Can you talk a little bit about these 4?
Sure. So we have a total of 4 stages. Texas A&M is based in College Station, Bryan. We will have a teaching stage ready in August with a pretty good size volume. I don't remember exactly the dimensions, about 50 feet linear length. It will be a curved wall, teaching stage. And then we will have a much larger stage, LED volume, around 10 to 12,000 square feet, in a building, in a stage that we're going to build in the next 6 to 8 months. Also, and that will be available to students for their projects, but also third-party producers and youth students. Texas A&M has expanded greatly in Fort Worth and building several buildings there as part of a campus downtown. But we also have, and currently they're up and running, a teaching stage there in a building, Winfield Place, right, where Probably Monsters is, a gaming company. We have one of the floors there, and then we partnered with a commercial production company called Red Productions, and they have a 4,200 square foot stage, and we put a volume in there. They have all of the stages we'll have, except for the one in the smaller one in Fort Worth, the Sisu camera robotic arms. They'll be fully outfitted with all of the latest technology. Like I said before, the Venice 2s and the Buranos. So we're going full bore with this, and it's an exciting time, and like we were talking about earlier, creating education and learning and opportunities for the workforce, and students can work in the industry in a variety of ways, even if they don't go straight into virtual production. And with Texas A&M, the students have such a strong background in animation and CGI, it helps tremendously. And a little bit of a plug for Texas in general is the legislature is looking at, and we hope it will pass, about $500 million in tax incentives coming up, which would be huge, certainly for production in Texas. Hopefully we'll know in the next couple of months about that.
Yeah, very exciting. In addition to the students, right, the training, the future of the film industry, what other workforce training programs are you going to be targeting?
Well, there are different colleges on campus, engineering, healthcare, architecture, even the meteorology folks. We're very interested in using our stage. And then, of course, we've got the disciplines of music, dance, theater. So everybody is looking at using the stage for their projects. We awarded 5 grants, I believe, 5 grants to different folks on campus, faculty, and they're bringing their projects and using students. And they're, again, from dance, theater, and music. So everybody's, we want everybody to touch it, have experience with it. And then we are also we'll have digital twins to mirror this bigger sound stages between College Station and Fort Worth so that we can do things real time as well. So it's going to be a very exciting ecosystem for sure.
That's great. We're excited to do some testing for future product in all of your facilities and the ways that you're using it. And I know we don't have a magic 8 ball, right? So you don't know what the future holds. But if you could predict what's coming next, tell our audience a little bit about, this shifting trend, the morph that you've done in your content creation model. Is there anything you see coming next?
I would say that from the wall perspective, no. Everything we've discussed, I think, is just going to continue to grow and do more of it. I would say maybe the way it's shot, maybe not relying on such high-end cameras and more consumer-grade cameras to capture that same essence. And again, with the idea of not necessarily being on a set, being maybe in a restaurant or someone's home and sort of an ad hoc situation. So I would say that might be one area that I'm interested in.
Yeah, good.
I think a part of it is not only getting students to understand how to use virtual production as a tool, but getting the rest of the industry to understand. There's I come from the industry. I'm a producer, director, and a recovering DP, but there's, getting people to understand and not be afraid of the new technology.
Right.
Because it happens all the time where I hear so-and-so doesn't want to use it because basically they don't know anything about it. But once they know how to use it and treat it as a tool and how it can really help them, then it really changes attitudes and everything else. And if we start that way with our students, then they go into the industry not having that fear. Right. And, can probably help a lot of the people in the industry understand it.
Yeah, it's really overwhelming to hear virtual production, right? It feels like there's not an easy point of entry. And I know Sony partners with a lot of industry companies and experts. Epic Games is a great partner of ours, and we hosted a training seminar for the ADG, right, to get them comfortable and exposed. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about, Wayne, with students and giving accessibility and maybe taking a small bite of the elephant and not just trying to eat the whole thing at once. Ken, were you gonna?
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's all the above. I mean, when you talk about AAA tier one type shows that help Mandalorian, it was very difficult to get into this space, but we're now seeing that every script has a driving shot. So many scripts have a bar scene. So many that's the majority of the pages that are being shot out there. That's the utility of what these walls can bring, and that's why we did the Burbank stage, is that this is a way to capture quickly, especially with like Gaussian splats and nerfs out there now. It's very I don't want to say easy, but a lot faster and a lot more economical now to capture these locations and bring them up in a volume or in a wall. And it's not just scripted, unscripted. It is games, it is music, it is we're starting to get into fashion, product. I mean, you name it, everything is converging, not just in budgets and in the type of how we see film and TV, but it's not just film and TV. So I think we're all seeing all of this go in every direction, and that's the future. Is, to me, very high level, very creator driven. YouTube is a great place that's growing very fast. I think this area of the way that we're going to consume our entertainment is where we're very well positioned to do, because it's not just high. We're making the barrier accessible to all types of content creators.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with your statement. I think we got into this a year ago, and there is a lot that we learned in that past year. I think you're going to continue to see a lot of the content that you saw on that screen, and we're going to continue to grow in some other different ways. The really exciting thing about this technology is that the ceiling keeps on getting higher, and you keep on chasing it. I don't think it's something that you're ever going to fully master, but just being on that journey and being on that chase is really exciting. I know it is for us, and it is for our producers and our creators. So yeah, stay tuned in the next year. You're going to see some really interesting things coming out of the WWE. And we're going to be using it in ways that we probably didn't anticipate using when we first installed the stage. So looking forward to that as well.
Can I just add one thing? So in the video that we showed, the A&M video, there's 3 or 4 shots in there and scenes in there produced by the students. I mean, we have classes going on right now. Yeah. And so the work they're doing is phenomenal. And we have hired and will be hiring more faculty who come from the industry, some who don't. And we also bring in folks from the industry, DPs, to work with our students if some of the faculty are not strong in cinematography or lighting. So we're trying to give them as much experience, hands-on learning and hearing from the right people as we go along.
That's great. You were just recognized, Texas A&M was just recognized for an award, Lumiere.
We did. We received the Governor's Award from the Advanced Imaging Society for virtual production. So, yeah, we're very excited about that. Very appreciative.
Excellent. So I know we're wrapping up almost out of time. Little open-ended question, so it can be specific to Sony or anything in general. What's missing? What do you need to complete your ecosystem? What would you like to see developed from a manufacturer's perspective?
I would just say more continued hands-on training. The wall itself can be used in all the different ways we talked about using, but it definitely requires some decent training for the whole ecosystem. Beyond the display, the way it's lit, the stage you use, if you use audio, just all those elements, it really requires sort of like a ongoing training. And some of that doesn't necessarily need to come from Sony, just talking to colleagues and how they used it and the challenges they face. I would say that's one thing that's going to continue to evolve.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Obviously, as things are developed and new technology is developed, we want to be a part of that. And as the others have mentioned, being partners with Sony in that, Texas A&M is a Tier 1 research university. So we will be working with Sony in terms of R&D for different products. I know that there's been discussions about Sony even trying out new products with our students. So those are the things that are really important to us. And then just as things grow and things come to the different technology and hardware and software come to the market, we want to have our hands on it.
Real quick, I just want to say thank you to Andre, Wayne and Joe. Learning a lot here has really opened me up to understand that. Let me just say this. So I was on a stage on another country, and the actors were hooting and hollering from the VP stage. And then a few takes later, the director was hooting and hollering from the director's tent. I mean, this technology is creating such the engagement of the crew, the engagement of the talent, being in that space and be able to react to what they're acting to is huge. I think that this is starting to get out beyond film and TV to all the other different places. That same excitement, when you say what gaps, we're trying to fill other gaps in there. And I think that's, when I look at around here, it's just, Acellus, ARC, there's other things. It's like these things are starting to round out how engagement can become a bigger thing for the people in front of the camera as well as behind the camera. Because behind the camera, if you're sitting and looking at a green screen, you don't know where you are shooting. This is something where everybody gets to react with what they're actually doing on the day. So when you're asking about gaps, we're constantly filling them, and then we're reminding ourselves back to the golden eras of when we had huge stages and hundreds of extras. That can now happen with a wall, So that's the type of thing that I feel like we're starting to get back to or fill gaps with.
And to echo his point, we did what we call a talent car wash ID shoot in Stanford, and we had 80 members of our roster come in. And for these performers who go on stage in front of 20,000 people, 30,000 people, 100,000 people, they're very used to feeding off that energy inside an arena, inside a stadium. So when you do put them in front of a green screen, it's very hard to get, to capture that performance in an empty studio. We brought them into that stage, and it was electric. They loved it. We loved it. We had a great time doing it. And it really shows in the final product, and it's been amazing for everybody involved. And we're looking to do another round coming up in a couple of months, and on the new stage, because we reconfigured into a larger space. Everybody's very excited to get in there and shoot.
That's awesome. First, we're running out of time, but I want to say it's been amazing working with each of you on each of your projects. The fun isn't that you bought a wall or a Sony product. It's that I'm part of your project. I get to know you as individuals, your teams. It really is collaborative, and I love that. And I've worked with each one of you to do things for the industry, for our own in-house productions. We've hosted events, we've partnered, we've shot. We're, taking a very philanthropic role, with Texas A&M and being engaged more with the students. And I really believe that that's how all of us are going to succeed. It's not about what you're buying, it's how you're using it and that you're contributing to share with each other, with the industry. And you all have had open doors. It's been hugely appreciated to me, but also the industry. The customers that I brought through to see what you're doing, how you're using it, has been instrumental. So thank you, because you're contributing to the success of virtual production. It's still new, even though it's been around for a while. It needs all the support it can get. So Wayne, tell those students there's a lot of jobs for them.
We'll let you, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate everybody's help.
Thank you.